to introduce our main speaker, Caroline Earley from LGBT Noise.
Thanks, everybody. Over the past 2 weeks, there has been a justifiable outpouring of anger and frustration in response to RTE's post-silencing of Rory O'Neill's comments and their subsequent unwarranted apology for these comments. But today is not just about this controversy. In a broader sense, it is about defending free speech, it is about condemning censorship, and it is about the right to use the word homophobia whenever this attitude or viewpoint presents itself. LGBT Noise would like to extend our support to Rory O'Neill. I think we can do better than that. Insightful and intelligent account of homophobia as something that can manifest in many forms, be it extreme or subtle. As an organisation that advocates human rights, LGBT Noise upholds the principle of free speech. We defend the right to identify, expose and speak out against homophobia in all its forms, whether that's explicit or implicit. Censorship. And in particular, we condemn RTE's silencing of Rory O'Neill's comments and their subsequent misplaced apology to certain individual columnists and the Iona Institute. We also condemn the use of taxpayers' money to pay so-called damages to the Iona Institute, an organisation that has consistently pushed an anti-gay agenda cloaked in the rhetoric of traditional family values and child welfare. These actions by RTE explicitly contravene their role as public service broadcasters. It is not only irresponsible, but it is damaging in the extreme. The decision by RTE to facilitate last night's debate about homophobia, while welcome, does not undo these previous actions. There are huge question marks hanging over RTE about their impartiality, particularly in light of the referendum on marriage equality, which is due to take place within the next 2 years. However, we hope that last night's debate marks the beginning of a much-needed public conversation about the nature and level of homophobia in Irish society. Up until this weekend, the debate had not been reflected in the mainstream media. And the actual real debate about the nature of homophobia, well, the mainstream media has remained deafeningly silent about this. However, just because the mainstream media are remaining silent does not mean that we have to. In fact, we have a responsibility, both to ourselves and each other, to speak out against homophobia. This is not always easy. This is not always easy. On a personal level, each and every one of us is acutely aware of what it's like to be silent about our sexuality, because we fear the response that we might get from others. Each and every one of us is aware of the courage it takes to speak out about who we are. Well, right now, at this critical moment in Ireland, in the campaign for LGBT rights, we have to be courageous. We cannot be silent, and we cannot allow anybody else to silence us. More specifically, we cannot permit any individual or any organisation to extract the word homophobia from public discourse. The word is important because it allows us to name the very discrimination and prejudice that's perpetrated against LGBT people. In this sense, the word is actually empowering. By taking away the word homophobia, you take away the ability to identify the prejudice. By taking away the ability to identify the prejudice, you take away any chance of eliminating that prejudice. For it is only by acknowledging that it exists, by naming it, by discussing it, by engaging in honest debate about homophobia, can we begin to challenge it and eventually put a stop to it. Homophobia is real and it is present. In its most extreme form, it exists in the courtrooms of Nigeria, the political corridors of Russia, the streets of Uganda, India, Cameroon, Jamaica, and many more countries, but it also exists here in Ireland. LGBT people continue to face discrimination in their schools, in their workplaces, in their daily lives, and this can take many forms: bullying, social exclusion, isolation, verbal assaults, verbal slurs, physical attacks. We know homophobia exists in Ireland not just simply because of the enormous amount of data collected supporting this fact, but because many of us, if not most of us, have been at the receiving end of it in one form or another. To deny that homophobia exists, and to deny that it exists in an extreme and subtle way, is a gross failure to acknowledge the truth, and is detrimental not just to our community, but to society at large. So I'll finish by saying this. If you kill, incarcerate, torture a person because of their sexual identity, you are homophobic. If you bully, isolate, exclude, or silence a person because of their sexual identity, you are homophobic. If you hold the view that a person is or should be treated differently from, less than, or unequal to anybody else because of their sexual identity, you are homophobic. Whether it is explicit or subtle, it should be, it must be, and it will be named homophobia. Thank you.